All right, everybody. Welcome back to another Chris Boss podcast. Excited tonight to have Janet, who's running for the College of Lake County Board, on the show with us to give us a little insight into who she is and why she's running, and also the College of Lake County Board. I'm assuming a lot of people out there didn't even know that there's a College of Lake County Board that you get to vote on, sending multiple people to represent you to that board. So, and again, we're doing these shows to increase awareness because April 1st, local elections tend to have incredibly low voter turnout. We want to do all that we can. I want to do all that I can to inform and encourage you to get out and vote. So we've invited candidates have said, hey, can I come on? Come on, let's have a conversation. Let's get it out there so people can be informed and understand who's going to be on their ballot on April 1st. So Janet, thanks for coming on tonight. Excited to have you here. Tell us, who are you?
Well, first, I should tell you that the first card I made said CLC board, and somebody said to me, "What's CLC?" And I thought,
yeah, you're going to start with that then.
Right. I will start with that. CLC means College of Lake County. And I thought actually everybody in Lake County knew CLC, and pretty much they do. So I'm Janet Gibson, and at least Janet's on the ballot. I go by Jan a lot, but I live in Lake Forest. I have been a 32-year resident in Lake County, and I'm a former teacher.
Okay.
I taught college prep English at Arlington High School, which is in District 214. It's in Cook County.
Okay.
District 214 includes Buffalo Grove High School, which is pretty close to us. And it was the largest district, a high school district in the state at the time that I taught. Chicago is the largest, District 214, and I think 211 has now taken over, and that's Schaumburg and Palatine. So anyway, I was a teacher, loved it. Also coached debate. And debate was really
fun later then. Let's go.
Oh, yeah. Debate's great because debate actually teaches critical thinking. Mm-hmm. I was a debater in college, and I wanted the students to know both sides of an issue. It's smart when you do that. You know what the other side's going to be saying. You learn from that, and you learn actually some points that maybe they know that you didn't know. In other words, you know both sides. So I coached debate, and I thought I'd be a teacher the rest of my life. I wanted to be a teacher since I was in sixth grade. I grew up in Missouri, in south of St. Louis, on a bluff overlooking the Mississippi, and went to college, and then came up to the Chicago area. That's where I started teaching. The school decided that the District 214 decided to downsize, and they wanted to take down one of the schools. Arlington High School was in the center of town, and it had a decline in enrollment. So they said, this is it. All the kids are going to go to 3 different schools, Hersey and other schools. And I decided to leave the school and be a business owner. So I was an entrepreneur.
Okay.
And that was really something because I got right at the right time. It was primarily luck. I taught, the PC had just come out. IBM PC. Okay, so that takes you back. It was floppy drive, one drive. Yeah, a long time. Floppy drive, then finally 2 floppy drives, then finally a hard drive, and then, of course, you know the rest. So I started, and I got in right at the right time. And I broke even in 3 months.
Wow.
Which was amazing.
That's impressive.
And the luck part. And then I started hiring people. It was hands-on training. I had an instructor-led. I finally ended up with 50 employees and a revenue stream of 7 digits.
Wow.
And I had multiple classrooms. And then I had my teachers. They were teachers. I had them out teaching Jenner and Block and different places all over the city. And finally grew that. And as people got to know Microsoft Office better, and it was rather than WordPerfect and then Word and so forth, or Lotus and then Excel, everybody got more comfortable. I realized the revenue stream was stopping. It was dying down. So I sold the company and then ended up as a general manager of Genesee Theater in Waukegan.
Very cool.
Yeah, which was a lot of fun. And it was a lot of work, 15-hour days. Entertainment industry is really tough. It's a tough.
You saw some cool shows.
Great shows. But when I got there, they had very few shows. And I realized we needed to add more shows. So we tripled, quadrupled the number. And then we also had lounges. And I thought, We can have anniversary parties, and we can have
Ah,
graduation parties. We can have bar mitzvahs and all
yeah,
kinds of going on.
you got the space and it's sitting
Have
there
the space.
empty. So
Let's
figure
use
out how to make the revenues
right. I had a great
come in.
team of people. And so what I did, the acts would come in and they would have a sound check, let's say in the afternoon. And they would come in and do the sound check, and they'd need a little bit of rest. And we had a green room, which was big, and we'd serve a buffet. They didn't eat pizza. It was a nice meal before the show, and they could have wine or whatever they wanted. But I needed help with it. So I called CLC because I thought they had a food service program. They had a
Okay.
hospitality grade. So I talked to the manager, and I said, look, I'd like to hire some people, 1099s, hourly, pay them the more going rate. And I thought it would be kind of nice for them, the students there, because they were learning bakery and they were learning how to be chefs and so forth. But basically, I wanted them to take care of the acts, the talent. In other words, clean up. They didn't have to do a lot of work, but basically make certain that things were clean, set a table, put things into the dishwasher, and all of that. So these young people came in, and of course they got to meet all the acts.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would have signed up
Which
for
was
that. I would
really
have
cool.
joined the culinary group just
Right.
to be able to be a part of that.
That's right. And then I promised to write them recommendation. So when they finished, I
Okay.
would write a recommendation for them to add to their resume. So what happened was that they'd come in, and I had my bar manager there, and she knew how to fold napkins 23 ways from Sunday. I mean, she'd have birds,
I
flowers,
don't even know how
whatever.
to do one way.
I could barely
Apparently,
fold
I
a
do it
napkin.
wrong, but yeah.
So these kids would come in, and they actually learned how to do all of this. And so they knew how to set the table. And I thought that's just one extra thing that would help them
Yeah.
of course, they were learning how to bake and be a chef and all that. So it was really it was a two-way street. I was happy to have them. I think they
Yeah.
were happy to learn something. They were being paid for it. And they'd come in, and we had a lot of shows going. So they could come in for every other show if they wanted to. So that was the Genesee Theater. It was a fun experience. It was tough because
Sure.
of the long hours. And then I left and traveled for a while. Because I love architecture, I went to work it's called Wist, Janning, Elsner. It's a forensic architectural and engineering firm in Northbrook. They have 20 offices throughout the country. I was in their architecture area, and brightest people, nicest people I've ever met. And then COVID hit.
Of course.
So I was
Of course.
the last in and the first out. They had
Yep.
to reduce force by about 10-15%, which was fine for me. It was unfortunate for a lot of the young people who were
Sure. Just,
younger. Yeah.
yep. Yep.
So I thought, I'm not going to just sit around. And so I enrolled in a master's degree program at my age in Boston. And I'm now writing my thesis as I'm running for this campaign.
So what's your thesis on? What's your
It's
master's
really
program in?
esoteric. It's on architecture, it's old buildings.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love to save things. And so this is historic preservation, and it's enhanced by our sense of place. We love to be around pretty buildings and architecture. So we all have senses of place. So I'm writing a thesis right now. It'll be due kind of mid-April, and the election is April 1st. So it's all kind of coming together, and I'm going crazy, but that's okay. I'm also in Lake Forest. I live in Lake Forest, and I've been here for a long time, and I've been on a lot of boards. So I've been a library trustee, Historic Preservation Commission. I've been on that.
Obviously.
Now I'm going on to the Zoning Board of Appeals. So
Okay.
that's starting in May. And I've been the president of the Women's Republican Club, even though this is nonpartisan election. This is
Nonpartisan
definitely
election.
Not partisan, but I am a Republican. And I'm still on the board of the Lake Forest Preservation Foundation. That's also had to do with historic preservation. And I'm now on the Friends Board of the library. And we're the ones that have the library sale once a year and sell 120,000 books that are
Okay.
used. Yeah, so that's fun.
And so with all of that, you said, hey, I need another board to sit on.
Right.
What is it
What
about
happened?
What is it about the College of Lake County and the board and this opportunity that got you to say, you know what, I'm going to do a running for office? Having run for office numerous times, I get it. But what was that ignited that to say, hey, you know what? Not only do I want to do this, but College of Lake County Board is
Yeah.
the place for me.
Well, this is the first time I've really run for an office. The other appointments were
Sure.
city-led and city-appointed. I was asked to run for the College of Lake County Board by a friend, and he said, nobody's running. And I said, oh, somebody should run. The boards are really integral in terms of making certain the process runs in an educational system. So he said, no, no one's running. And I said, well, I love CLC. I've never really taken a class there. I should.
But you had the kids.
But it's in also.
You've had that interaction with them.
That's right. And also I was on the Lake Forest Symphony Board, and we actually played there in the James Lumber Center. And that was actually, their acoustics there are better than the Genesee theaters.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really, that building is great. In fact, I think all their buildings are. It's the cleanest campus I've ever been on. Well-maintained buildings. And of course, who doesn't like that?
Yep.
So anyway, I said, well, I'll think about it. And then I thought, well, it's a nonpartisan race. This is great. It's helping. It's giving back. It's a monthly meeting. The college is well run. And so I said, sure. So I had my petition, and I took it around. And the first person who signed it was an 85-year-old man, white hair. And he bent down to sign it. And he said, well, I go there. And I said, what do you mean? You go there? And he said, yeah. He said, I take the drums. He said, I'm in the band.
I need to find this guy and get him on the show. Like, that's a guy I need to talk to. Absolutely.
I'm sure his wife has him in the garage playing. No way are you bringing.
I was that kid in middle school. I was the drummer.
There you go.
I was in a high school band, and they had me like playing
marching.
Well, they wanted me to play the xylophone. I'm like, I don't want to play the xylophone. I had long, beautiful hair at that time. And I'm like, I want to be in a rock band, man. I'm like, I want to play the drums, not the xylophone. So, yeah. Ended up dropping out of a school band and taking lessons and rocking out on the full set.
Well, now they have the classes at CLC. I started looking up the classes. Okay. So they have like 1,470 different courses there. And some of them are personal enrichment.
Okay.
And one of them, I think it's wonderful because their teachers the faculty members must be creating these things that are fun for them to teach. And this is personal enrichment. Okay. They obviously have a academic program, of course. So one of the classes is called uke. It's dealing with the ukulele.
Okay.
So they called it You Can Do This or something. Whatever it was just a funny title. And then they had one called voiceovers. You could take a class for $49. You could take a class on doing voiceovers for ads.
Okay.
How to do it. And I thought, they're just being really creative and having ballroom dancing and,
sure,
kinds of things. So this guy signed my petition, and I was just sweet thing that somebody was learning how to play the drums, and he was in a garage band, and
love it.
And his wife said, "Go out there and play the drums."
As long as it's not in the house.
It's not in the house.
So as a trustee with that though, right? Because there's a balance.
Yes.
If it with however many programs that are being put out there at $49, that making sure that, or let me preface this as a question of then how do you review that, or how would you review that and make sure that it's the most effective use of taxpayer dollars to do that? Like, where is it revenue positive? Is it revenue neutral? Are taxpayers subsidizing so that somebody can do this?
Well,
I think that's the biggest challenge.
Yeah, that's a really important question. Yes, voters here are taxpayers. Okay, we all pay taxes. And the budget, and I guess I should talk about the platform. My platform is pretty simple. It's basically I want kids to get, not kids, but students to have a well-rounded, affordable, high-quality education. That's number one. If they go into a tech program, their tech program is thriving.
Phenomenal. Yeah.
Welding. They have engineering, they have automotive, they have
I
all
think
kinds of
fire
things.
science
Every
and yeah.
and everything's more computer driven these days. So they have to be knowledgeable. We have a labor force that has to be trained. So the kids get two years, okay. And the other part of my platform, I guess, without having an agenda, my other platform is I want to take a look to see that our finances are in order. I think they are. It looks good. Their budget looks good. And certainly having run a company in my own, which was 7 digits, this is 9 digits. So $130 million is a large budget. But we taxpayers are paying about 63% of that. The students are taking about 23%. The state comes in about 8%, and then you have a few other percentages. So I haven't really gone through all the financials yet, and I will as I go into this. But what I'm seeing is that my percentage, I think, going to that college is about 3%, and that's doable. I don't want to see it increase. I don't want to see a levy. I don't want to see an increase in levy.
Good.
I don't want to reduce what the students are getting. Obviously, we're paying for buildings, faculty, personnel, keep the lights on, all these things. And then I just heard 2 days ago, I think, Governor Pritzker at the State of the State, or three
Yeah,
days.
his budget address.
Well, his budget address, but he talked about this really concerns me. He wanted all the 2-year colleges
Yep.
to go to 4.
That's one of my questions. You're getting ahead of me.
Well, I'm so
No,
sorry.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Well, I actually stopped writing my thesis at that point and listened.
Yeah.
And I thought, this is just not why we have a community college.
Yeah.
We have a community college so kids, I'm sorry, I keep using kids.
It's kids. They're always kids.
Everybody younger than I as a kid, right?
I have 20-year-olds that are sophomores in
They're
college.
still
They're kids. I did youth and family ministry forever, and
there you go.
They're all like 30s and married.
There you go. They're still kids.
Still my kids. Always my kids.
Well, the students go there, and they get the cost of the college is about $4,200. If they go there and get the basic classes, English, math, political science, and whatever, history, whatever the science, okay, they're getting their basics for 2 years. Then let's say they go on to the 4-year college. They have an associate's degree. They get into the 4-year college, and they're saving about $30,000 on that, which is really something. I mean, I think colleges are outrageous. In fact, my college, I'm getting a master's, it's well into the 5 digits.
So ludicrous.
I'm on a fixed income right now, and I'm thinking, what am I nuts? Yeah. This is really, I think this, and this, I'm not, this is out of Boston. So I'm not even, it's not food, it's not room and board. It's just tuition and fees.
It's just to do it.
Just to do it.
Yeah.
But I'm enjoying it. But these students are working, they're getting the education. Sometimes it's the first person in the family getting that college degree, and they're working hard at it. And I think I just want to keep that debt down. I hate the fact when kids get out of school, they have this debt strapped onto them, and they can't buy a house, they can't barely buy a car, all kinds of things. So I think CLC is perfect. The problem with the 4-year school is then you have dorms. Well, then that adds the cost. Now, is the state going to come in and pay more than their 8%? I don't think so. They don't have any money.
Nope.
So that means the students would have to pay more. We taxpayers would have to pay more. And that's not what this community college is all about.
And I believe CLC's got great partnerships with the other state schools as well. And I think there's even on campus there's like a satellite learning facility for, I think for Southern Illinois and maybe Northern Illinois that they can
you're
finish
beyond
off.
me.
They can finish off their degree there without ever having to go to the other colleges.
Well, I know that the high school students can at least get some dual credit, which is really good because that also takes money off.
Yeah, with the tech campus.
Yeah.
Yeah, my son did that.
Really?
Yeah.
That's good for him. Smart.
He did the law enforcement ones.
That's great.
Loved
That's
it.
wonderful. Yeah. That really is. So I think that the other thing is I did hear last night at a meeting in Lake Zurich that one of the board members was there from the CLC, Amanda. And she told me that actually there are a couple courses that they'd like to have as 4 years, but no dorms because of the real estate, the liability, the expense of those dorms. There's no reason to have dorms. But I think I think it's dental hygiene or dental assistant, somewhere in that sector.
Okay.
I think they're taking the dental over it on Genesee Street, and they have 5 locations. So on Genesee Street in Waukegan is where their dental program is. So that one, they'd like to have a 4-year program for those kids.
So they can get qualified and get the certificates and
Even
all that.
get a degree.
From what I get out of community college, and there's a huge value in community college, there's 3 different tracks.
Yeah.
Almost. You've got the kids that are going there for the 2 years to save the money before they go on to whatever's next, or they're trying to figure out whatever's next.
Yeah.
It's that 2-year buffer zone for those that are going to go on to continuing education, which is fantastic. You know, my son's at a community college right now doing that. Mother's at a state school because of her profession she wants to go into. Like, there wasn't the option to be able to do that. She needed to jump in right away in the beginning. Then you have your professional development.
Right.
Where it's those that are going into a trade, which are exploding and huge in, you know, partnering with businesses and unions and, you know, all of the things around Lake County. And then you've got your continuing ed, or you've got your I don't want to say fun, but, you know, just that personal development side of things. Those are the 3 avenues with that. So out of those 3, where do you see the most growth happening in the next few years?
The most growth is happening, I think, in the tech center. Some years ago, I sat at a small luncheon with Mayor Richard M. Daley, the younger Daley, some time ago. And he said, we need to make things. He said, we have service businesses, but we're not making things. And things were going offshore to China or wherever. And he said, we need to bring that back. Well, with the tariff situation that's going on, that will be going on, and the fact that we have a tech center, we need a labor force out there, and you can make one heck of a good living being a welder or an electrician.
Plumber, electrician, construction, automotive, like all of these things. And I think that's a huge avenue that the people don't realize is literally in our backyard.
The other thing is, a lot of those professions are using more computerized things. So you need to have more professional, you need to know how to read more and how to deal with the computer more and other things associated with it. You need
more professional development to go into it, as opposed to years ago, you showed up and you apprenticed along somebody and they showed you the ropes and you learned along the ropes. Now you need to have at least a base of information going into that.
And also, I've been talking to some of the union shops. By the way, Genesee Theater was a union shop. We had the stagehands. We had local too. But I've been speaking to some of the unions out here, and they told me that they have all kinds of classes they really get their apprentices shaped up in terms of knowing what to do and how to do things. And that's part of technology as well. So I think it's a fine school if they decide. I remember that high schools where I taught at Arlington, we had a woodworking shop and metals, automotive, and they got rid of that. They got rid of that because we had to be more academic. And I thought, no, we need to know how to do things and let people have fun doing what they love.
Well, and have choices and figure out how to do things with their hands and see things different and experience. Because part of that was, you go in and you experience and go, you know what, that's not for me. Or ooh, I kind of like this. Maybe there's something here. Or, I'm horrible at math, but I'm great at electronics.
That's right.
So now I can utilize the electronic side of things to get me through math.
Right.
And so I think how would you utilize then, you've got an education background, you've got, a business background of running businesses, you've got your service background in utilize at the Genesee Theater. I'm setting this up for you, not intentionally, but it seems like that's a great meld for what's needed as a trustee, as part of the CLC board.
I think so. I'm actually excited. Initially, I have to tell you that I wasn't excited, Chris, because I was told nobody's going to run. And then suddenly there were 7 people on the ballot. And I went,
and how many seats are there?
2.
Oh.
So They said in order to win, you have to have 20,000 votes. And I said, I don't know 20,000 people.
We see 20,000 people to show up and vote. That's
right. And nobody's going to
trigger
show
of
up
it.
for this thing. It's horrifying. So actually, I've been going out, talking to people, explaining who I am because they don't know me. I don't know them. I don't know. I just drove by a city out in Lake County that I didn't even know existed, the village of Three Lakes. And I thought, wow, I've never heard of this before. So there are obviously some pockets in Lake County that I just am not aware of, and I'm trying to reach them.
Sure.
Between now and April 1st, and I will. I'm excited because I've been watching some of the meetings go on. And the president is giving her vision, and I'm thinking she's on the right path. I think there are a lot of good things going on. The tech center, ATC or whatever it is going well. I like the fact that it's demographically balanced. I look to see who's going to that school. Well, it's about 47% Hispanic, or they call it Latinx, about 37% white, 7% black, and 7% Asian. And that's about what we have in our county.
It's about the reflection
it matches.
of Lake
It's
County.
A reflection of who we are as a county. And that is healthy. So I'm looking at all the healthy parts of this, and I'm thinking, this is a well-run school, clean buildings, nice people. I've not heard one negative word about it. Not one. I was at a fall party, and actually it was outdoors, and it was a bunch of horse riders, equestrians, and they were in the red boats and all that. And I was just there looking at the architecture of the buildings. That's why I was there. And they let me pet a horse, and I was all happy. So I met one of the women, actually young women serving the food there. And I said about her, whatever her real job was. And she said, well, I remember her name was Grace. And she said, I went to CLC. I loved it. She said, I got my associate's degree. I went to Elmhurst College, private Elmhurst College, a 4-year school. And I majored in speech therapy. She said, in order to be a speech therapist, you have to have a master's. So she went on to Loyola. She came back to Waukegan, and it was her first year at Waukegan school system teaching. And she said, I'm being mentored by great people who are helping me through that first year. You need that as a first-year teacher. And she said, I loved it. I loved the CLC experience. It kept my costs down, all these things that I've been hearing. And it was an affirmation of what's really gone on at that school. I think it's well run. As a board member, you have certain duties. Obviously, I'd have to be there. I'd be there for a monthly meeting. I know there'd be a large packet of what to cover. And I think the other job is also policy, procedures. Chances are they're going to expand in another area. Who knows? And that's another thing that you have to work through. Can you financially do that? What's the balance there? The other thing is, a board member, you go out to Washington and you secure Pell Grants. CLC has a great foundation, and they get scholarships for these young people, and they help them through. And a lot of scholarships go their way, which is great. I would be on that team, the board, to go out to get Pell Grants for these young people to get through school.
So let's talk about that, because there seems to be now this tension brewing between our governor and our president, with both of them saying they're going to make an example out of each other. And stuck in the middle is us, the taxpayer. I was having another conversation with somebody else on the show about this. I'm like, well, I don't think our school gets any federal funding. Most of our funding comes from the state. It may come from the state, but it comes from the federal government to the state to go out. And Pell Grants are another one of those with the possibility. I don't know what's going to happen. Not anybody really knows what's going to happen with the Department of Ed, but where a lot of that comes through. So how would you make the case? How would you walk through that? What are some things that you're thinking and processing when it comes to budget side of things of, how do we protect the school, protect the students, and protect the taxpayers?
Right. All three.
As these two entities are standing their ground and having some sort of weird battle.
I think what's going to happen is we're going to see some things over the next 10 years, let's say. I think we're going to see manufacturing come back in some form.
Yep.
And it's going to be not the coal burning, not that, okay? And the children that they take from their families to work the fires and whatnot. I think we're going to be making more things, and we can. We certainly have the ability. We have the land. We have the know-with-all, all of that. With that, the feds, I don't know what's going to happen to the Department of Education. Who knows? It's been bloated for a long time. And as a teacher, I know that, especially on a federal level. But I think that the monies, I don't know how that's all sent to Illinois. I don't know what's coming from the governor who's in office, what's going on with that. So I think we have to take care of ourselves. Since the state only gives us 8%. Now, I think it's $10 million, but this is out of a $130 million budget. So you and I, living in Lake County, are paying a percentage. And I think if the money is managed well, and there's fat in almost every budget, okay?
Yep.
But if we can manage that well, I think that money coming from the state, fine. But we can't rely on things all the time. We have to manage our own pocketbook in terms of our own people, and making certain that our students getting through are getting help. The foundation raises a lot of money. That place has a really good foundation, and they have donors give. They have fundraisers. They do all kinds of things to funnel the money to help individual students,
the kids that need it.
Yes, right.
Yeah, and so
that's really needed.
It's my job or my career. I'm in nonprofit fundraising, and I've said this I think I've said this in almost every one of my podcasts too. It's like instead of going after that levy,
Yes.
if I have more money in my pocket, I want to give more. That's just who I am as an individual.
Yes,
and I know plenty of individuals like that. But if my tax rates keep going up and up and up and up, then why am I going to give if they're just going to if they're essentially stealing it from me?
Right.
Without my my real approval outside of these votes occasionally. But
Bingo.
if you've got a solid foundation that is doing good work and sharing the right stories to the right people to be able to collect those extra funds, to be able to do those things, I think that's a way better avenue to go off of than just going, oh, well, our levy's 3%. We're going to go to 7% this year because we can.
That's ridiculous.
I like to hear that you won't want to raise the levy.
No way. We have to live within a budget. We do in our own households. And actually, our preservation, I'm the vice president of, they don't call it fundraising, development. Development. Okay.
I'm a development manager.
So I'm the chair of the development team at Preservation Foundation. And all along, we've had a budget of, okay, for an annual fund, give us so much. This year, it's been off the charts. I am so impressed with people and their giving. And our membership, we charge very little to be a member, but they know what we're doing. And so I think if people know what CLC is doing, they'll give. I think that's where that foundation has been really pinpointed right into the people who really care and who actually have extra money to give.
Yeah, the ability to give in that.
For the young student who is maybe the first generation going to college, they can work and make that $4,200 to get through. It'd be nice to have a cushion so they can go to that 4-year school afterwards if they want. Or what I love about I didn't realize this until I got on their website. They have screens looking at you'll see the profession. Let's say you're going to be a welder. So here's what you need to take.
Okay.
Here's how much this is how much you'll spend on this. This is how much you'll make the first year. And by the way, this is your professional, what you're going to make.
Development role, yeah.
And it's called bingo. That's a key. And I think it's brilliant, whoever came up with that.
Yeah. So then as a trustee, then, how are you going to help, get the word out about that? If you're elected, if you're on this board, Lake County's big, it's diverse. Even as you said, there's community names that we're not even aware of, that may or may not exist here in Lake County. And so what are the communication pieces? What's the strategy of getting that out there to the county to say, hey, we're here. Here's what we do. and
That's a good
here's the
point.
impact that we're having within our own county.
I'll tell you the truth, I'm not sure. I'm used to speaking. I just spoke the other day to PEO members, a nice women's group, about the hidden jewels, the hidden little things in Lake Forest. I do different kinds of things. But actually, I think our board needs to be going out, communicating and selling it, because I think that that's a really good, it would be a good plan. We need to be up on things. I didn't know about the dental hygienist wanting to be like a 4-year. I had no idea. I didn't know that if SIU or some of the state colleges are actually there. I didn't know that was going on. So there are things I don't know yet, and I haven't really gone through the books well enough, in terms of knowing where things are and what we're spending on what. But I do know that that's not a cheap campus to fund. In other words, the gentleman I met last night, Frederick Henderson, I think his name, Hutchinson, nice man, 23 years he's been an instructor at CLC in the sociology department, and he loves it. And he said, this is exactly where I want to be. I'm having a great time doing this. And I think that's a real positive thing. So I think getting the word out is very important. And I don't know, I'm not quite sure how CLC gets the word out.
Yeah, I don't know either. Is it, and even being a resident, I know occasionally we get something in the mail, but it's like,
yeah,
my kids aren't going there. So,
right.
I'm not that interested in that. So I think there's definitely an avenue for educating the general public in who CLC is, what they're doing, the value and the value of the indoor communities, as well as connecting into the business leaders and the business groups to say, work with us.
Well, I know that they have a connection to a lot of places around, like Rosalind Franklin, and they're out there. But I don't know at that level. Since I'm not working, I'm not actually selling or whatever. I'm not in the business community. And let's say Abbott, I'm sure they have a relationship with Abbott.
I don't know. I would hope so. I would hope with the Lake County workforce development programs, with all of our major entities that we have here within Lake County.
I'm sure they are
some sort of relational connection with.
Yeah,
I'm sure there is. But again, it's how is that out there and known of. This is what's happening with your tax dollars.
Well, right.
These are business partners that are happening. How do we share these stories?
Their materials that they hand out are really slick. They're well done. They have good publication, and I think they have an energetic staff there. They work hard. They're very proud of what they do. So I think it's all positive, to tell you the truth.
That's fantastic.
Really. So I'm just glad. Actually, now here I'm running against 6 other people. Who knows whether I'll get this?
That's how it goes sometimes. It's you think, and you're not alone. I was just talking with somebody else about a potential on this, and they're like, oh yeah, like there was like 3 spots and like only 1 person was running, so I got asked to run. Now there's 18 or whatever it is running for those 3 spots, but as somebody who's done it and helped many other people do it, I think it's incredible. I think it's an incredible opportunity to put your name out there. It's an incredible opportunity to gain greater exposure into what's going on in our communities. And as a taxpayer, it helps you really see more details of what's really going on. Well, most of it's all automatic. We don't even realize, the check just comes out. But when you're there and knocking on the door saying, hey, I want to be held accountable for spending your tax dollars.
That's right.
Like, that's a whole different animal.
I'm finding, I never really looked on my property taxes. I'm always complaining about them. Okay. But I actually am looking at mine, and it's like $50 a month to support CLC. That's doable. I can handle that. Okay. For my home. Okay. But you just don't want the numbers to go out of sync, out of whack. You don't want that. As I said, increase the levy. There's no reason to do that. And you need to really take a look at what you have, work within that budget, and make certain that those students don't have to pay a whole lot more, because they're trying to work and go to school at the same time and get a career.
Yeah,
and
you want to make it.
To me, you want an educated force.
Yeah, and you want to make it accessible and affordable.
That's right.
But at the same time, protecting the tax dollars, because your taxpayers in this, because all too often what happens is you got CLC going, well, it's just a little increase. It's only, I mean, I had this with everyone. It's only $5 more. It's only $10 more. It's only $20 more. But out of the 17 different taxing bodies, when they all want $5 more, that all adds up really quick. And there's this lack of awareness amongst the taxing bodies.
That's right.
To view the totality as a whole, when we have some of the highest property taxes in the country, we are some of the most overtaxed citizens in the country as well, too. So I like that you're having that mentality of we got to protect the taxpayers at the same time as understanding that the community college provides a value to our overall communities as well.
That's right. Well, you want that educated workforce, educated society. And it's all about education, getting the right fit, having people be happy with what they're doing and be satisfied with their
properly educated society with relevant educations. I mean, we can educate everyone in underwater basket weaving.
Well, that's
really
true.
Doesn't help if our taxpayers are going to subsidize underwater basket weaving, especially 3/4 of the year here where you're not going under the water. Unless you're doing a polar plunge that's happening like in this weekend.
I know, that's right. I've heard about that. Yeah. No, thank you.
No.
Not all the polar stuff.
No.
I'm inside writing my paper.
Writing your thesis, getting ready to get it crammed in there at the end.
Right. That's exactly right.
I'm assuming, though, because now we transition to the fun part. We ask fun questions, though, and it's usually like, hey, what are you watching? What are you binging right now? Do you even have time to be binging a show right now?
A couple of years ago, my maiden name's Madison. And so part of James Madison and all of that. Okay. So I decided to read all the books, starting with George Washington.
Okay.
On the presidents. I got up to Millard Fillmore. Now there are a ton of books on George Washington, a lot of books on Adams, Jefferson, Madison, Monroe, and all that. I'm up to Millard Fillmore. So I took a book with me on vacation. And somebody said, what are you reading? And I said, I'm reading Millard Fillmore. It's the one book written about him. There haven't been any more.
It's not on the New York Times bestseller list.
So I haven't progressed past then because I've gotten more into the thesis, but I'm reading different books. And while I'm reading about the presidents, then of course, Ben Franklin or Hamilton or, and there are books, lots of books on all different people. So I'm reading about from our founding fathers all the way through. And I haven't gotten to Abe Lincoln yet, but
there's a lot of books on those.
Yeah. Down to Springfield, and they have Lincoln Museum, which is phenomenal.
Fascinating.
Gosh.
Yeah.
And he was so poetic, and he's written so much and wrote so beautifully. And so that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm also, we were talking about different people taking fun classes. Today I called my former ice dance partner. Okay, we were
ice dance partner. All right.
We were terrible. Okay. We were on
Did you have fun?
We had fun. And we all suited up with elbow pads and helmet, everything. Okay. We were looked like the sponge guys, basically. So the Michelin Men. Okay. If you remember that one.
Oh, yeah.
So I called him today and I said, he and his wife are going on a trip. I said, could I put my sign in front of your yard? Yes, of course. And he said he was going to CLC. I said, you are? He's now just recently retired engineer, and he wanted to get into all these classes, and he didn't want to audit them. He actually wanted to go through. But he said, I didn't want to be the first one to ask questions in the class. So he said, I was always the last one to ask questions because I wanted the young people to ask the questions, and I would be the last one. And I thought, how sweet of him. So now I realize why I danced with him for so many years.
I thought you were going to tell me he was taking ice dancing classes at CLC, and then we were going to have a whole other
if he were, I'd join him.
Discussion about that. Oh, Janet, what's a go-to snack for you? Salty, sweet?
I hate to tell you, I love celery. It's my favorite. Yeah, it's my favorite food. I love it. I could eat celery all day and night, but I also like popcorn. And we were on opera, and I'd had what's it called? A milk dud. I lost a crown.
Never again.
Never again.
Never again.
Good.
but it was good. It was that my wife loves those milk duds.
Yeah,
I don't. They're a little too
I know, a little too sticky.
too sticky and yeah. So you hit one of my other ones. It's normally like, what's a hidden talent you have? So apparently ice dancing.
Yeah, well,
You know,
actually, yes, I stand, but I actually am a sailor. When I lived in Chicago, I told you I liked architecture, lived in
yeah.
Marine City, and then lived on Lakeshore Drive. Loved to go out look at architecture, but I had a boat in Belmont Harbor and sailed 15 Mackinac races.
So
So
cool.
I was teaching at the time, so I had those summers off.
Yeah.
So it was fun sailing. We have a lovely lake here. You have a lovely lake in Lake Zurich.
Yeah, you're not really
Yeah, very
sailing on
pretty,
it, but
very pretty lake. And actually, I was just talking to someone who's running for assessor, and she said that you have something called a purple something.
purple plunge.
That's
That's
it,
the
purple
yep.
one. And she said that they thought they'd be able to break through the ice pretty quickly. She said the ice is that deep.
Yeah, they had to bring in like a little mini backhoe to like clear it out, and
But
it's
I said, we've had days of 3 degrees.
yeah,
I think it's down to 15 below or something. So we've had some pretty cold weather, but we have that in the Chicago area. We're used to it.
it is. But thankfully, I think for summer fun though, I don't think Lake Michigan froze over that much. So that means hopefully slightly warmer Lake
Yeah.
Michigan temps because
Well, I have a
that's
girlfriend
never
who
fun though.
goes swimming every day in Lake Michigan.
God bless her.
She's with no way,
No way
no
at
way,
all.
no. She's with a group, and I said she wears gloves, and I said, but they get wet, right? I mean, what is the point of it? But I don't know. Love
Hey,
people love
for
it.
people that do that, I mean, there's the people that do the cold plunge, stuff every morning, and I'm like, that's again not for me.
Not for me either.
Well, Janet, it's been fun. It's been a great conversation. Great getting to hear your story, why you're running, a little bit more about this. If people are interested in finding out more about you, where can they find you?
I think probably Facebook.
Okay.
Well, my first account was hacked. Oh, I know. It was pretty bad. So I think it's Jan Gibson.
All right.
I think they can find me under Jan Gibson.
So
And
find her
also
on
LinkedIn,
Facebook.
too.
And Facebook and LinkedIn, and connect with her, ask her a question. She'll get back to you.
Yes.
I'm sure of it. In
course.
between when she's done ice dancing and studying and working on her master's and looking at
And writing the thesis.
awesome old buildings with that. So excellent, Janet. Thank you so much for coming on tonight, guys. Remember, April 1st, get out and vote. It's imperative that we get quality people on all of our boards across all of Lake County, across all of Illinois. So get informed. It's what we're doing here to try to bring up people to you that are running for office. Remember, conversation doesn't equal endorsement, but want you to be aware of who's actually on the ballot. So, Janet, thank you again, and you guys have a great night, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you very much. Vote for me.